Today, we have a very wonderful guest. We have never spoken before, but that doesn't matter when it comes to the Melee community. As long as you're mutuals, you can set up a podcast episode without a problem. He is someone I look up to as someone who is heavily involved in the community, TO, player, commentator, all the roles you can imagine. I'm super excited to have him on. The Cheat, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I saw you followed me. I'm like, oh shit, let me shoot my shot. You were hella receptive.
I was going to say it doesn't just have to be mutuals. You could shoot for the moon sometimes and pull a Bobby Scar or something like that.
Trust me, I've tried, and it is a work in progress, but we'll get there.
Right on.
So one thing I could have done was continue to list off roles that you have played and things you have done in the community. I gave you a slight warning, but one of the first things I wanted to do was just ask you, how do you identify with the Melee community, and where would you prioritize the different things that you are involved with?
That's a really good question. I think even though it's probably the thing that I'm worst at, I would probably put player first. I think that's a really good way of sort of looking at the game. I think a lot of people sort of come into the community with the preconceived notion that they want to do something. And I definitely did that, right? I came into the community and I was like, I want to be a commentator. And I thought about that a lot when I was starting out. I was the guy who would go and ask if I can commentate friendlies, which is not really a thing that people do.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, I didn't realize what was happening at the tournament. So I would just be people would be playing friendlies and there'd be a stream happening and I'd be like, hey, can I commentate this? And they're like, okay. So I think that over time that sort of kind of faded away. And the important thing to me became making relationships with people. And I think the best way you can do that is just by being there and going to tournaments and, being in that social environment. So I think to me, that's kind of the priority, even though I'm, not very good at playing Melee, if I'm being honest.
I've seen some clips of that Luigi, man. I don't know. I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
High moment was 129th at EVO 2018. That was pretty nice. Never been on a PR. Fun fact, I've never had a PR win in Arizona. I've beaten people before they were PR, the season before they were PR, and the season after. Never beaten anyone on the active PR, and I've been playing for 6 years now. So,
honestly, before and after, I think that counts. Plus, AZ is a pretty good scene. So, I'm giving you credit. Don't worry.
It's also I'll John here and say that it's also a scene where people get PR and then they stop playing. So I don't really get too good of a shot all the time. But anyway, I do think that player is first, just from a community standpoint of involvement. I think next is probably organizer. Smash Camp has obviously grown, it's as big as it can get, to be honest. We are capped. For the past 2 times now. There was a wait list. I think it might be the only Melee tournament in the world that has a wait list. So that's crazy. And that also sort of got me my job. I work for a company called Bravest Esports, and we do esports event organizing. And unfortunately, we don't do a whole lot of Melee, but my primary role there is to organize esports tournaments of various games. And so... it's a funny thing there too, because I don't really run brackets for Smash Camp. I do all the planning and stuff. I've run a couple of weeklies. I used to run a weekly to Sandwich Shop, and I used to help out SAK Gaming a little bit with actually running weeklies. But aside from that, Nick Yingling runs all my brackets. So
I'm clocking the Sandwich Shop. We'll come back to that.
Okay, sick. All right. So then after that, I don't know. I've done commentating more than content creation, so I think I'd probably put commentary above that. To me, a lot of my friends are commentators, and it's just primarily I don't know. I think I'm kind of good at talking for the most part, and I like Melee a lot, and a lot of my friends are commentators, so that's a really fun thing for me to do. And then more recently, I've just been making some like YouTube videos just because I like have thoughts that I want to talk about, and so I probably put it player, TL, commentator, content creator in that order.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, I could just go down the line. We're not in the same region, so I can't speak too much as a player, but we'll get on Slippy, maybe even after this, if you're down. We'll get some games in, and we'll knock that out. Smash Camp, already a legendary event. I mean, clearly it's not an Evo. It's never meant to be an Evo, but within the scene, it's one of those things that's like, I think every region has a group of people that's like, shit, dude, I want to go to Smash Camp this year. Like, we got to hop on that. So already,
it's crazy.
Already, it's looked at as, I heard in 5 Days of Melee, Jackzilla was talking about like the platonic ideal of of what a Smash tournament is, and in a lot of ways, totally get it. You want to hang out with the homies, you want to play a bunch of Melee. It's, I can't wait to go to one of those. Probably the worst COVID safe event I could even think of, but. It would be horrible. Yeah, but
I know.
We'll get there.
Not to gas myself up or anything, but it really is like great vibes.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know. It's just a whole lot of love out there at Smash Camp.
Word.
So well, super grateful to everyone who's made it out.
Yeah, I mean, congrats on that. And then commentary. I mean, you've done your fair share of majors and regionals, and personally, I'm a fan. I think commentary is one of those things where everyone has an opinion on it. Every player at every stage, and I'd love to spend a lot of time on commentary in this episode, just because it's a hot topic now. It's a hot topic always, and I think that you have to gas you up even more. I think you have a good mix of like. Of knowledge about the game, but mostly like passion about the game, and that comes through even in your banter, even in the tangents and the fun of it. It's always that like core that's like, oh, this guy clearly is here for the game, and that's I think the most important thing. So huge props on that. And then just to top it off, the videos you've been putting out, I know it's not the bulk of your Melee career, but already I'm like, shit, I want to see more of this guy. You clearly have like a refined voice, even if it's from the commentary, and it'll come along more with content, but clearly another welcomed channel in the ecosystem. So that's my full range of compliments.
Holy
bro.
Shit.
Fucking take it, dude.
That's Jesus fucking Christ. Thank you.
Well, the reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of times there's this weird sort of how do you even describe it? I'm sure we're on the exact same page with like how the economy of attention goes with our scene, right? So there's a very distinct view, and this is not a Melee specific thing. This is like every esport, every sport, every piece of entertainment or like passion has a top heavy range of people that like everyone knows, and like people come into Melee, they're like, yo, Mango, like the gods, and now it's like, I mean, Ludwig's up there too, just really reaching out, and like people like Toph and Scar that grab all this attention, and it's very cool to see that there's like all these roles that you're taking and you're thriving at all of them. And to have, it feels like a left-handed compliment, because I described like, oh, these people are getting so much attention, why aren't you? But it's like, we know where we stand. Like everyone knows where they stand in the economy, right? I just wanted to let it be known how excited I am to have you on specifically. That you are like a person I look up to for having all these skills and contributing so much. /rant. Sorry, but that's where I stand.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to call that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I think that, I don't know, the viewpoint that I try to take is that, like, there are so many, like, dot kids who are having a big impact on the scene now, you know? And I think that sort of proves the point that, like, it's never a bad time to get involved in Melee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's never too late. And I know that I'm kind of speaking from a position of privilege in a number of ways when I talk about this, but I like what I want and what I think is true is that Melee is so sick that you should join it, like, no matter what's, no matter how old the game is.
Right.
Like, I think that I don't know, the things that are getting in the way of that are not really like, I don't know, they're not really like the nature of the community. They're more just like we have a problem with like conduct in our community,
Mm-hmm.
and I think every community does, and ours just happened to be aired out in like a very public way, and so like I think that the thing that should be on all of our minds is people who are like, oh my camera, okay. I think the thing that should be on all of our minds is people who are like established parts of the community is like making it so that it's a safe space for people who haven't necessarily felt safe in our community before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that like we've proven that people can have an impact when they come in here, and that's a huge selling point. And I think it's true that this sort of community is good for people, even the 0-2ers. I really do believe that that's true. Like, I found a huge amount of fulfillment from being an 0-2er in the community.
Yeah.
So like a community like this, I think, can really help people. I think that kind of, speaks for itself. As long as we're like being mindful of how we interact with other people. And I don't know, that's something that I've been thinking about as sort of the stuff that happened this July was going on, is like, the role that I play in the culture of our community and the role that I played even before I was doing all of this stuff,
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox there for sort of the community economy sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm happy you brought that up. I mean, it's definitely something that came in really strong, and it almost felt like because everyone involved was so engrossed in the conversation as well as the things that were coming out about people that we had spent all this time with, and for sometimes it's close friends and sometimes it's like people we looked up to. It was so rough and so penetrating for all of us, let alone, I mean, the victims and just people outside of it felt that. I can't imagine people inside of it. So that it's good to continue the conversation because there was a fatigue that set in.
Yeah.
Not just from that, but also the pandemic and the economy and like all this stuff came together, and it felt like the conversation at large sort of drifted away from that. And so thank you for bringing that up. I hope that is a consistent undertone. That's an ideal that I hope to strive for more, and I'm glad that we get this that going so quickly in the conversation. And it also kind of ties into like the bigger picture of what we contribute, right? Mm-hmm. So we're speaking about the necessity of making it a safe space and making it a fun area and making it a place where people can grow, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Personally, I felt that like I mean, my life was a pre-Melee, post-Melee thing. I mean, the doc came out my freshman year of college, and my entire 4 years at that school was kind of centered around traveling to tournaments, and my classes it almost felt like my classes came in between practice sessions, and like, it was such a foundational thing. Like, what was your experience from the very beginning? Like, how did you feel the game entered your life, and mm-hmm. what has it given back to you in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty similar. I think that was kind of the case for a lot of people. The doc came out my sophomore year of college, actually, 2013. I didn't start playing Melee until 2014. But, I think it's kind of similar to just how most people get into it. They see like a cool Smash video on YouTube or something like that. And like, I didn't have Melee at my house at the time when I started like, realizing that competitive Smash existed. So I downloaded like Project M, and played that for a while. And then Yeah, the first tournaments I went to were the ASU weekly tournaments run by Gem, which were crazy. They got up in the time that I was going to college. So from 2014 to 2016, they would have like 150 person weekly tournaments.
Jesus.
Yeah, in a lecture hall. And that was really awesome. And it was kind of funny because like this was the Smash tournament on campus, and I really started getting into it like right when Smash 4 came out, and Melee was still like the dominant game.
Yeah.
You know, like the tournament was a Melee tournament that there was a Smash 4 like side bracket at, which was really cool. So yeah, that's when I kind of got started, and like I don't know, college was kind of rough for me up until that point, which I think is part of the reason why like Melee has had such a lasting impact on me. So like I don't know, around the time that I started playing Melee, I was like switching majors, like I wasn't doing super well. I was living at home, so I felt like really detached from things that were going on campus, and Melee was sort of like this perfect storm of like meeting new friends and stuff that kind of powered me through. So yeah, that was really awesome. So I started going to tournaments in 2014. I still think that the best tournament I've ever been to this day was Smash the Target in 2015. And I'm not sure if you remember that or know about it, but
Sounds
it was
super familiar.
It was this like we were super hyped, right? It was the biggest Melee tournament in Arizona history by a pretty big margin, and it was 128 people. So
Okay.
so we were really amped about this, and it was like Axe Westball's grand finals in this like I don't know. It was this place called the Maker House in Tucson, which was just sort of like this event space where people would have weddings and stuff. Nothing like super big or anything like that, but the energy was off the fucking charts. It was incredible. And I don't know, just as like an 0-2 were going there, I remember I like played Vector Man, and I was so hype about not getting 4-stocked, and like there were all these sets happening where we were like rooting for Ty to get the upset on Westballs, and he like won in winners and lost in losers and stuff. And then like Axe Westballs was like a super big rivalry at that point. This was early 2015.
Yeah.
So they were both like fringe top 10 players, and they had like a really close grand final set. It was really hype. And that was the first like big tournament I ever went to. And like, I was just like, shit, man, I gotta like, I gotta be doing this. I was like, I want to like immerse myself as much as I can in this community, just because it was pretty much just because that one experience was so hype.
Oh yeah. Oh man. For me, it was a Syracuse tournament with probably half as many people, but I totally relate, man. It's it's the energy. It's like, it's so intoxicating. It's so like impossible to describe. This is why I love talking to Smashers pretty much exclusively now, because you need to get it. I'm sure there's similar experiences with other esports and other things, but Melee feels so special that you're there and the full history. And we just watched this doc that not just invigorated our love for it, but seemed to like involve us in this explosion of a relatively ancient game. No other game came out in 2001 that's still such a scene. So yeah, I totally get it. So that's 2015. You're about a year to 2 years into like entering the scene and being super involved. When do you remember your first commentary gig? Not friendly commentary, but like getting on to maybe like a top 64 or inching your way up. Do you remember that?
I think probably the first one I did was Run Back 2016. I was doing like locals up until that point, but that was our like regional tournament. And this was the year before like the 1.5 hot guys thing. So at that tournament I got to commentate with Wobbles, which was really cool.
Nice.
I forget who else. Yeah, it was all. I really liked Wobbles, of course. Everyone in Arizona likes Wobbles. You know, he's a great commentator. He was a great player. So that was super hype. I got to do, I think, some of top 64 there, and that was my first like big one. But I was at that time. We would like go to our friend Alex's house over the summer of like the summer of 2016. And we'd just be like grinding every day, which is great. So I I was really involved in going to tournaments. I was going to like every single local like twice a week. And you know, commentating at some of the small tournaments, and then Run Back 2016 was kind of like the first big tournament I commentated, which was pretty hype.
And were you involved in TOing at that time?
No, really, Smash Camp was the first thing I ever TO'd.
Oh,
like,
shit.
in a serious capacity.
That's actually,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird, right? Is
Yeah,
that
right. I don't know. I was just like, kind of this like weird, sort of like commentator, community figurehead person who would shitpost on Facebook a lot. So like, I guess like everyone knew me in the community, but I'd never really like run a tournament before or anything in a serious capacity. And I went to camp at the place where we have Smash Camp in 5th grade. And I was just like, you know what would be hype is if we did something there. And it's in Prescott. My family has this like house in Prescott, and so I used to spend a lot of time there when I was like in middle school, and so I like remembered it and just looked it up online. And I emailed them and I was like, hey, do you want to have like a Smash tournament there? And it turns out like the guy there, you know, he's kind of like a casual Smash fan, you know. He was like,
they're everywhere.
You know,
they're sprinkled throughout.
Yeah,
you could find them anywhere, dude.
we got to pull them together. That's the
next
that's
frontier.
the thing. Yeah. And so like he was super stoked on it. He's like my age. So like he was all about it, and we just set it up, and you know, it
Yep.
the camp really like carries me. It it really like, I say that all the time. It's so good that it's just like, all right, I build my experience around this like amazing canvas, and it just fucking goes. It just slaps automatically.
I mean, dude, I'd love to talk about that a little bit. Like, I think that's really important. It's just it's not necessarily about forging, like, no one's expecting a venue to be created by the TOs, right? It's really just the opportunity's there, and you took it, and you obviously knew the people that you needed. Did you assemble the team? Like, what was the next step from that?
The team is just me and Nick Yingling and Steven Shackelford, who streams it. And for the last Smash Camp, we just had this like group chat with, I don't know if you know Violence, but he's a Samus. He beat Army at Genesis. I don't know if you remember that.
Hype.
The Samus that beat Army at the last Genesis. He's been around since like 2004 helping TOs and stuff out, and so he like knows a lot of people. He moved from NorCal to Arizona in like 2017, and so we worked with him to like plan some things and get players out. But it's really a 4-person team that runs the whole thing. And yeah, it was just me and Nick and Steven Shackelford that first time.
And you guys were just homies from the beginning? How'd you guys meet?
Yeah, so actually that's a good point. So like the first first few months I was in the scene, I ran a house tournament called Seagram Smash with me and my boys at my parents' house, and my parents didn't know about it, which is hype. And
Okay.
they're just out of town for the weekend, and I was just like, all right, boys, come over. It's time. So yeah, I met Nick Yingling there. He just happened to like see it on Facebook, and he was living like a couple of miles from where I lived at the time. And so like I don't know, he's like one of my best friends in the whole goddamn world. And so I met him at that house tournament that I ran, and he was part of that group that was just like grinding, you know, through like 2015 and 2016. So we're going to Steven Shackelford's tournaments. He runs SAK Gaming, so he has been the ever since MVG left, and ever since this other small tournament series that was happening left, he was the sort of TO who was running tournaments outside of the college tournaments. So he was running the sort of, we like to call them paid brackets. We like to talk shit about anything that wasn't a paid bracket before, that you didn't have to like pay a venue and entry fee to enter. Right. So like talked a lot of shit about the college tournaments and their results because of that. So he was running the paid brackets.
Yeah, we have that same thing. NYU would pull probably twice as many people and have such good talent, but we would always talk shit. We're like, bro, you can't, just because the college gives you these rules, and fuck that. We're not taking it seriously.
Went to an NYU weekly last year. Actually,
they're probably mad good players there.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't. I went like 2-2. It was nothing spectacular for me. But that was like the only weekly in New York for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were holding it down, and
That's
because I think that money thing's pretty serious. It's like
yeah.
because of that, you wouldn't. It was like it's obviously a meme, and this trickle down is not an actual viable economic system. But in Melee, you have at least for us, there were top players that would come out for the pot, and then there were the players right below them who came out to get their PR wins, and it truly is a trickle down thing. Because if it's
there's a hilarious post in SoCal Melee community about somebody who was a TO, and he like lost his venue or something like that because he couldn't like afford to pay for it, I guess, and he was just like, "Listen, guys, the Melee community has to band together and vote for Andrew Yang because UBI will save Melee."
I saw that shit. That spread coast to coast. That thread. That was me.
What a legend.
That was it a serious post? Was that serious?
I think it was. I think it was.
Well, hey,
he was just a desperate guy.
Stand for what you believe in.
Melee.
But the more serious you are about your cause, the more likely it will be turned on you. I think that's the message there.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's so he okay. Who was running? I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the guy running the.
Stephen Shackelford.
Steve.
Yeah.
Probably should put way more respect on that name. I know that my local stream gods deserve more respect themselves, and
yeah.
It's tough to get their names out sometimes. So shout outs to Steve holding it down he's still holding it down at Smash Camp. He's still the guy.
Yeah, he'll probably be streaming for us. So he like ran SAK Gaming was like his like job, and so like he's been running online stuff here and there, but like we unfortunately like lost our venue because of the pandemic, and so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But he I don't know, before then he was like really doing it big in Ultimate. Like we would have 300 person monthlies for Ultimate. It was crazy.
Ooh, Ultimate was a really good thing for TOs for a while. You run both. It was like an investment that paid for itself in like 2 months or something.
Easy money.
In Long Island, they blew up, dude. Long Island has a crazy Ultimate scene.
Oh yeah.
And because of that, the Melee community was just this parasite. Or sharks, they have that fish that goes alongside them.
Yeah.
Melee was the fish.
Homies. Yeah, we're the tiny ones.
We came in and picked off the teeth or whatever. And so shout out to Ultimate in that capacity for giving our
Thanks,
TOs
y'all.
money. Word. All right. So you come in first as a player, you commentate friendlies, which that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard, but it unironically sounds like a great foot in the door. You talk like it's a way to talk to the stream. If you want to be a commentator, I think you have to become friends with the stream runner. That's like the most important.
Yeah, and that was like Steven, like me and Steve, just started shooting the shit, and I would come to literally every one of his tournaments, and at that point, like it's like not a whole lot of people willing to commentate if you put yourself in a tournament small enough with a stream, and so you just kind of like fall into it.
Yeah. So I mean that's a quick little tidbit there. I think it's as simple as just like be there for your local scene.
Yep.
Just show up and do it, and that gives you the experience you need to get better at it, and then it gets you the spots you need to get more spots. I mean, do you have anything to add to that? Is it more complicated?
No, just like be part of your community, just like learn to love it, and you're going to be okay at commentary just from that basis, just from knowing who the people are in your community and like watching them play.
Word. All right. Well, Thanks for my Twitter clip. That's
hell yeah.
That's an easy short form snippet. Cool. All right. So we come up to, let's say 2018, 2019. You have Smash Camp going. You got your, when did you get your job, by the way? When did that come into the equation?
Late 2018. So right before this, second Smash Camp.
Okay. And what was the process of that? Were you applying to esports jobs? What was your goal there?
Yeah, they don't come up in Arizona very often at all. This is like the only one that exists right now. And so I was a paralegal at the time. I came out of college, got my degree in political science, and started working at just a personal injury law firm, pushing papers, pretty boring. It was kind of miserable. And so I was just looking for esports jobs every day until one popped up in Arizona. And, it actually was a pretty big coincidence because Jem, who I mentioned earlier, was the TO of the ASU weeklies. He had agreed with them to quit his job as a teacher at the end of the school year to work full time with them, and so him and I are coworkers now. And he's a big he's kind of like my godfather as far as TOs go. He's been around since 2008. And kind of picked up the mantle for ASU in 2012 when I started going to college. And so, unbeknownst to me, I actually applied for the job that he was also going to, be working with me on in a few months.
Oh, you didn't even know?
I didn't know. Yeah, it's completely separate from, knowing that he would be a part of that. I applied to it. I just found it on Indeed. I applied to it, and they actually didn't have a full-time position available at the time, but the other guy who was doing that position quit in the hiring process. And so I applied to their part-time job.
Oh, shit.
And they were like, all right, you're actually really qualified. Do you want the full-time job now that this guy quit? And I was like, hell yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. That's it's kind of funny story, but that's how I got there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's another lesson out there. It's esports jobs, not that easy to come by.
Hopefully it gets easier. Hopefully.
Honestly, macro trends, it has to be. I'm not super. You're obviously way more qualified to speak on this, but esports profitability has kind of been a meme for a while.
Yep.
So. Not to ask you to disclose too much, but do you see it trending better? And you think that it's going to head in that direction where jobs will pop up more often and companies will be more profitable? You're making a face that makes me not feel too great.
It's such a hard question because I do feel for the most part, esports are still in this space where I feel like it's not going to be conducive to that, where they're primarily, involved in the big money is involved in LCS and, Dota internationals and that sort of stuff.
Top
Overwatch
heavy.
League. Yeah. And I really don't think that that model is going to be sustainable for for long-term esports. I made kind of a video about this once the Nintendo stuff happened, but I think corporate involvement in esports has a pretty heavy hand in keeping it down from being the beautiful participatory thing that I think that it should be. Mm-hmm. So I'm really glad that I have a job where I get to operate tournaments a lot. That's the primary function of my job. But I think that esports have to reach out to people where they are in their communities in order to become the Super Bowl like every venture capitalist thinks that it should be. So I don't know. I think that some people are getting there. Some folks are sort of wisening up and they're starting up collegiate and youth esports initiatives. But I think that the picture could be a lot bigger in terms of how people are thinking about this. And I think that a lot of that work should be done in the space where we're actually getting people together, once we can do that, obviously, and playing in the same sort of community that we have in Melee.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, from what I understand, that makes a ton of sense. And I agree to my source of knowledge. I think it's really exciting that you are not necessarily a unique case in that you come from Melee and then you leverage that experience. Sometimes it's to esports and sometimes it's to more generalized content areas or whatever experience you gain from it. I know Ipangu is the example near us where he got a job at Cheddar Esports as a talking head, and because of his experience in commentary and all that. So do you, it's kind of a leading question, but how unique do you think Melee is in getting people into that kind of cross-pollination area?
That's a really good question because I think that kind of the thing that I I think about a lot is the fact that like other communities don't have that sort of pipeway where you get to like sort of work as you're part of the community. You know, like if you're going to be involved in the League of Legends community, it's like you're either like on an island by yourself, sort of like creating content, or you're like grinding online to be a top player or something like that. Or I don't even know how you would get a job as like a community manager for Riot or something, or like a Riot tournament organizer within their community. Like there aren't like weekly LANs to speak of, you know, in the same way, I guess. Like, I guess there are like LAN centers out there that you could go and work at to try to get some experience with like working with people in those sorts of games. But I mean, it's good for us, I guess, because we stumbled into this place where like, it's like a year, I don't know. Like I mentioned, I'm like a year away from like joining the scene, and I'm like commentating a regional, you know, like I have no experience, and in tournament organizing, I email a campground and I like run Smash Camp, and that's it. Like,
and your house tournaments and the sandwich
and
shop?
the house tournaments. That's
Can we
true.
circle around to the sandwich shop?
Sandwich shop was actually after Smash Camp, right?
Okay,
So that it was. It's just kind of a small thing. Like, there's this place called Chiba Hut on the West Coast. Really delicious sandwiches, really good. Mwah. Chef's kiss. And yeah, they were just like, some guy posted in Arizona Melee community one day and was like, "Hey, we want to run video games," or something like that.
We want to run video games.
Broad posted this to like a whole bunch of Arizona gaming community things, I think. And so I responded and I was like, we can do that. You know, we can just come in and bring our stuff. But I only ran it for like a few months before I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, really.
Gotcha.
I don't know. So yeah, not really. It's kind of a blip on the map, and it's after Smash.
At least we talked about it. That's all. I needed
yeah,
to
there
know.
you go. Shout out Chiba Hut, delicious.
Hey, they did their job. They wanted to use it for marketing, and look at this. They're marketing.
This is really fucking great, guys. Let me tell you. Cali missed. That's my order.
Word. I'll mark that down. Well,
Yeah.
it definitely makes sense that like, clearly from our perspective, Nintendo screws us in every sense that they can, and it's partially because we have such a passion for the game, but it's also because it's a necessity. We are constantly starved for the resources that we need to make good events, and we are cursed with good taste for what an event could be. You know,
Yeah.
we've been to and this is another thing where like the gods of TOing, like the juggle guys, the Melee and On Me crew. I wish I could really start spewing off because there's so many godlike TOs out there.
Yeah.
And they've created these spaces for us that we go back to our own hometowns and we're like, we're gonna do something that good here. And then a couple years later, it's like, oh, this is a career that I found, because nothing else is like this. There's no other game that has that sort of pathway.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talk about the things like, 5 Days of Melee comes to mind. These huge online events, the LACS, the there's probably endless examples of being overwhelmed. But we talk about those things as being the blessing in disguise from Nintendo, but I think it goes a layer deeper than that. It's like who we have become. Personally, I had a meeting yesterday where, because of this podcast, which is a Melee podcast, I'm going to be creating content for my job. Like I'm shifting career paths within my company. That's a message that I can't get out enough. It's like it's right in front of us, you know?
It was really cool to be in like the 5 Days of Melee Discord.
Oh my god,
there were like 200. Like, were you in there?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Yeah,
it's crazy.
200 of the most like talented and involved people in the community. And like after the whole thing was over, there were some people in there, you know, who were like just like throwing their name in the hat because like they needed a whole lot of help to get this thing to be pulled off. They weren't necessarily like, you know, well-known content creators or anything like that. But afterwards, people in there were just like, yeah, I'll absolutely give you like, I'll be a reference for you, you know, if you're looking for work.
Right.
And it was just like really cool to see like the collaborative creative process between all of those people, and then sort of like the gratitude once it's all over. That was really a huge undertaking, and it was cool. There was like a big old VoIP at the end of it. Everyone, like 40 people, were in a voice call and just kind of
3 a.m.
just
my
kind of
time.
shooting the shit.
I wish I could have listened to that live.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, I mean, the Melee community, I think, absolutely uniquely positions you to be a part of stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, it's a tricky thing to talk about because, I mean, we keep coming back to this, but these people that have such an influence in our scene just don't have the same name recognition and aren't the first things. And it makes sense. It's like, this is a natural thing. It's no fault of anyone, but like, it's probably going to take someone entering the scene 6 to 8 months, probably, or actually whenever the next big house comes along, to know who Juggalot Guy even is, right? Like, to know who these really important people are. And those are the people that probably have the most, look at everyone who worked at Twitch, right? It's like all the Melee heads that started off just doing commentary and putting local tournaments together, and now they get what some people would consider a dream job. It's the path is there. It's in front of us.
It is really crazy. Sometimes I will find someone who immediately gets like deep sauced in Melee. So like after LACS, somebody followed me, and I noticed they were only following 6 accounts. And it was me. I think it was me, Slime, Dawson, Mango, Ludwig, and Scar, and that's it. And I'm like, how are you like joining Twitter and this is the first group of 6 people that you choose to follow?
We'll take it, bro. We'll take it.
Absolutely insane.
I mean,
but that happens every once in a while, I guess. But you're right. I think for the most part that it's kind of a weird you get like rooted in, but it takes a little bit of time to do that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there could probably be a training guide of, all right, who do you need to know, but who do you actually need to know?
Yeah.
And I guess specifically, it's like, I know I'm probably, because of my interest in commentary and being in that space, I have, I'm more interested in like the new commentators coming up, who's getting spots, who's like, and I'm super ingrained there. I think with TOs, content creators in the back end, these roles that are harder to define, it's trickier to kind of give someone who's interested in that, like, oh, look at these people, like, follow what they're doing. But all we could do is take this 20 minutes or 15, however much time we talked about it, just give them the shout outs they deserve, because
for sure,
holy shit. Word. Okay, so I think we covered 3 out of the 4. Maybe we covered everything that you're super involved with. I wanted to ask you, like, at this point in time, what are you thinking about, like, as your personal next steps? Like, what ambitions do you have within the community? What is important to you? I know off the bat you talked about making the scene more inclusive. I'm happy to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
I know that's on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the big thing always with me, is like, I don't know. I think I've said this so many times on so many different things that I've done in the past few like weeks, but like, Bobby Scar was on Healthy Gamer, with Dr. K on Twitch. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but everyone should go check out Healthy Gamer. I'm a big fan. And he, was sort of talking about, the sort of culture of the community, and he said that Melee is so sick that it gives him the strength to say that if somebody is making a problem for someone who wants to play Melee, then they have a problem with him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of the rallying cry. That's sort of the evangelical nature with which I kind of like look through the lens of Melee. And I think that, especially since I got this job, I've been thinking a whole lot about like, how to make something like this sustainable for people, and how to, make sure that, that the line only go up. Like just like the stonk market, line only go up.
Yep.
And I don't think that's necessarily going to be easy for us, but we've overcome a whole lot of shit to get there. And I think the big thing in our way right now, obviously, is the conduct, and thinking about how we handle that. And I have like a whole lot to think about as far as Smash Camp goes with how we handle that. Because like I mentioned, it's a very small team. I won't pull any punches here. People get very fucking drunk at Smash Camp.
Yeah.
And fortunately, for the most part, people have behaved themselves. But we want to make sure that it's not putting anyone else in, a position to be uncomfortable or, worse. So that's like a really big thing once the Smash Camp opportunity comes back around, obviously, which is not going to be for a while, I don't think. Aside from that, I think like, I don't know. I try to I don't have a super big platform, obviously, but I try to use it to like talk about the stuff that's important to me in the community. And I think making content is part of what I want to be doing while I have this opportunity to kind of sit back and not run Smash Camp. The last 2 Smash Camps I ran were 9 months apart, and that kind of fucking killed me. And I got pretty fatigued. So in a way, it's, I'm like trying to reset while I have this time. And I think content's been part of that. I want to talk about the stuff that's important to me. And I was actually, I've been watching a lot of YouTube while I've been in quarantine.
Same.
Spent a lot of time in front of my computer, and I'm actually kind of inspired a little bit by like cooking videos in a way. And what I like to talk about, there's this guy, Adam Ragusia, who is just kind of this home cook, and he has a journalism background, and he just kind of like, he just like talks about everything like from a non-authoritative perspective, I think, in a way that's really cool. And he's like really open about his process and in like writing and making content for that field. And I think in Melee, like most of the content that we have that's talking about stuff is like, people will like edit commentary over gameplay in a lot of ways. And I, obviously like combo videos are a big part of that, or like showcasing things about the game itself is a big part of that. And like, I don't know, I just thought there might be a niche for like personality based video essay kind of content sort of stuff. And so I don't know, I've been making some things like that. So yeah, I don't know, go watch it if you want or not.
Oh man. You're not in sales, are you?
No. Fuck no.
Hey,
could not be.
I don't know, watch it.
It's not it's
important to me. It's,
like, did you know that 95% of you listening to this podcast aren't subscribed to the channel? Better change that.
Oh god. Well,
otherwise the enforcers will act swiftly and without mercy. What?
We will murder you because we have you chipped.
Well, that was the implication, but you didn't have to go out and say it anyway.
Sorry. I am in sales and I'm terrible at it.
Blowing up the spot here, man. Come
on. Word. All right. I mean, honestly, already I feel like I've gotten to know you way more than I have before. It's really cool to have this opportunity in like my own platform, as small as it may be, to reach out and talk to people who are, as Patty put it in one of the next episodes we're putting out, who are fighting the good fight, right? Who are in here in the game we love and putting stuff out and putting the message out that is, all encompassing in the holistic view of what you're going for. And what I like to think that I'm going for is pushing it forward. Line go up.
Yeah. A line go up. Yeah. And I think that's, I mentioned I'm a big fan of Healthy Gamer. I think that's a big reason why I find that so compelling, is that like having conversations, even if they're not about like trauma or, mental health necessarily. But, even having conversations like that is sort of like this one is sort of like the glue that brings us all closer together. And so I think it's the good fight,
Yeah.
So keep it up.
Thank you. You as well. So that's a good transition into kind of the last segment I like to do. Um, and it's kind of like a multi-part question, so bear with me. It's been a little while. Quarantine's been shitty.
Yeah.
Um,
You got it.
but let me paint a quick scenario. Um, you are meeting with someone who looks up to you as their absolute hero. They want to be they want to do what you're doing, essentially. Your career, your involvement in the scene, your skill level. Uh, they play Mario though, so let's not get into character specifics. Yeah, I know.
That's pretty fucked up, to be honest.
I know. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Um, so what would be your three most important lessons for this person in their first year of involvement in the scene?
Number one is to okay. Number one is to try to eliminate like any fear that you have about like failing or losing or doing any of that sort of shit. I think especially if you're trying to be a competitor, but also if you're trying to like, just have any role in the community, it's better to just come in and see it kind of for what it is, and not to place any like value judgments on yourself if you happen to like not get a commentary gig or if you happen to not place well at a tournament. I've kind of been in places, especially with competing, I think, where I've gotten like really frustrated when losing, and sort of like when I was going to tournaments a lot. And so that's a bad mindset to have in all things. You can read The Inner Game of Tennis if you'd like to know more, I guess. But just sort of like, I don't know. The melee community is like the easiest place to let yourself fail like over and over again, and it doesn't matter because it's all a fucking video game, and it's clearly gonna be here forever. So yeah. That's fantastic. Other thing, like I mentioned before, is like just like genuinely be there to be a part of the community. And I don't know. I don't want to say like don't clout chase or anything, but like it's going to be more fulfilling for you if you legitimately just think about like, I just want to bool, right. I just want to be here because it's exciting and because this community is something I value, and that's it. And the rest of the stuff will kind of fall into place as you like make relationships with people. But I think like making those relationships is absolutely the first thing that you should do. And in the melee community, it really is as simple as just like sitting down and asking somebody to play friendlies. It's great that we have a culture where like 99% of the time the answer to that question is yes. Yep. So like it's fantastic. It's super easy. It's social lubricant, and you already have something built in to talk about in melee, which is great. The third thing, oh God.
You covered a lot with those two, but I think you could squeeze out a third.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's kind of related, but just like know that your like if you have aspirations, that they're like not super far away, I guess. You know what? I'm going to switch it out actually and say like don't be a shitter. Be very careful about how you interact with people in the community. And I think it's really easy to sort of, especially if you're somebody who's like me, like a straight white man, and you're hanging out with a bunch of other men, it's pretty easy to fall into sort of like a boys club culture. And you don't really think about it at the time because it's like fun, and you kind of think like, well, this is just how the community is. But I think that in a lot of ways that culture can be like quietly exclusionary, and people who are the targets of that exclusionary behavior will almost never tell you that you're doing it. Right. So like, it's very rare that somebody like gets called out for a joke that they make that is like sexist, for example, by the target of that joke. They just leave.
Yeah.
And so like even in your like 0-2 position, you know, when you're first getting into the community, you can have that negative effect on someone if you're not careful about how you are sort of affecting this culture that we create. So I think that, you know, being careful about that sort of thing and having conversations with your friends that you maybe don't want to have when they do stuff like that is a really important thing for everyone in the community to sort of be aware of.
Oh yeah. I mean, when that scenario goes by, when you say something that you think is a joke, because obviously you wouldn't give a shit because you're in your position as a white dude, and you make someone leave and you make someone feel uncomfortable and they don't come back to the Melee community, gets worse. And worse than that, your local scene gets way worse. It affects your local scene the most. You could look at it in so many different ways. You could look at it by the numbers. You could look at it by how statistically places that are more inclusive and more diverse are better and produce better results and are just, you know, it doesn't matter what angle you're wrong if you think that, you know, you can do away with people in those positions. So don't be a shitter. It's probably gonna be the title of this episode, man.
There you go.
I usually ask, and maybe you have a different answer, but I usually ask if you have one sentence to encompass your teachings, what would it be? Is it don't be a shitter, or is there something else you have in mind?
Don't be afraid, don't be a shitter.
Don't be a shitter out of fear.
That's it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid, don't be a shitter. I love that. My dog is literally falling off my lap. Hold on.
Oh,
come here, little guy.
Oh,
come here, girl. She's a girl. Yeah, let's give her one more. She had a long nap. Oh, you're gonna get me some clout. You're gonna get me so much clout.
That's a thumbnail, baby. Woo! Oh, so small.
She is 8 weeks old.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Her name is Maple.
Wow.
And I'm going to start an Instagram account called Maple Story.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to be a nerd
Easy
to get
clout.
it, but nerds will get it.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad that we just got hijacked by an adorable infestation.
It's worth it.
Thank you so much for coming on. If you have any parting words, any plugs, now's your time.
Thecheat.com is my Twitter. _cheat is my Twitch. My YouTube is my name, Mikey Iosue. Iosue. They spelled it wrong on my diploma the first time. It's a story for another day. Anyway, that's it really. Yeah, I don't know.
The salesman comes out again.
Not a salesman. Not salesman. Except for when I put the Pepis hat on. Another story.
Oh my god, we didn't get into that. Oh. Hey, I think we covered a lot. I hope we could stay in touch. May this be the beginning of a long friendship, and
absolutely
stay safe, man. Happy holidays. Let's play tomorrow. I'm catching a cold.
Okay.
I think it's from her.
Hit me up.
Will do, man.
Alrighty.
All right, take care.